तव कथामृतं तप्त जीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमंगलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः। Let us resume the Bhakti Prasanga, the topic of devotion, which was initiated by Sri Ramakrishna during his visit to Star Theatre, where he went to witness the drama on Prahlada, the king of devotees, despite being the son of a demon, Hiranyakashipu. Sri Ramakrishna has classified devotion into various stages, which we have been seeing for the past so many weeks. He said in this Iron Age, Kali Yuga, Bhakti according to Narada, Naradiya Bhakti is the way, and in order to attain Bhakti or devotion, one first have Nishtha or one-pointed devotion, confidence, concentration to one aspect of God. The Nishtha evolves into Bhakti or devotion. There are 9 varieties, Navada Bhakti, which have been also discussed at length. And Bhakti culminates into Bhava, attitude. And Bhava is the way which takes us to God. There are 5 principal attitudes, Bhava, Shanto, Dasya, Sakha, Vatsalya and Madhur. The finale or the culmination of all bhavas is Madhura Bhava. And this Madhura Bhava ultimately evolves into Mahabhava. The greatest of all bhavas, like Srimati Radhika had for Sri Krishna, which is not reachable by ordinary spiritual aspirants. Even Madhura Bhava is a very sacred, loving relation with God, which we have been discussing here after discussing all other bhavas. Now, Madhura Bhava is many times misunderstood, misinterpreted, and then mispracticed. Because Madhura Bhava is, there is a risk of getting it perverted into a sensual form of practice. For this, a detailed understanding of the conception of Madhura Bhava is extremely important. Madhura Bhava is said to be the greatest contribution of the Vaishnava teachers like Chaitanya Dev to the spiritual world. It is all embedded within our scriptures, but Chaitanya Dev brought it afresh from the scriptures and preached to one and all. So it has been said repeatedly by the scholars that the Madhura Bhava should be very properly understood and comprehended before proceeding to be practiced. Now, this Prema Bhakti or Madhura Bhava, as has been discussed in our last Sunday class, here one should have an all-devouring love for God. and it is compared with the human terms as the love of a paramour for her lover. It is to be very carefully noted in the classification of human relations. Sri Ramakrishna says there are various types of human relations. The love of a friend to another friend, Sakhya Bhav, love of a servant to his master, a surrender, and a loving service, like Hanumanji for Sri Ramchandra, the Dasya Bhav, and the love of the mother for her children, Vatsalya Bhav. Various human relations, and the most loving relation which is possible in the human relations is the love between the husband and wife. And that too, the love of a chaste woman to her husband. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the attraction of a chaste woman for her husband is 1/3 of the kind of attraction needed for God realization. The love of a mother to her child, and love of a miser for his wealth, and love of a chaste woman for her husband. All three together is the type of the cumulative power of attraction is required for God realization. Now in Madhura Bhava, it has not been said the love of a chaste woman for her husband. It has been depicted as a love of an unchaste woman for her paramour. The person is not her social husband. So it is a very peculiar understanding here. The common people, educated people, civilized people do not understand. How can this be a simile of a spiritual practice? An illicit relation of a woman to her paramour while having her own husband. So this has to be understood very carefully. If it not understood carefully, it may lead to a very disastrous results. So here we have to understand that this is in relation to our love to God, not to any human being. Many people feel that if one practice, a woman tries to become an unchaste woman and have a relation of love to another human being, then she is practicing this Madhura Bhava. Not at all. This is not to be understood in that way. It is in relation to God and God alone. The highest example is given with the Brojagopi Kanam. The cowherd a woman in the Vrindavan who had love for Sri Krishna. Now these people were married, they had husband, they had social relations, but still they developed love for another male person. But this male person was not loved as a human being. This is to be noted. They were always conscious that this person is an incarnation of God, the omniscient, omnipotent being. The relation is a divine relation, not a mundane relation. In order to explain, because this is a divine relation, this is inexplicable. It cannot be described in words. In order to give an illustration as far as possible in the mundane terms, it is compared to the love of an unchaste woman to the paramour. Now, this love is much more than the love of a chaste woman to her husband. How? Because here, the chaste woman is not afraid, or she is open, because she is having a regular relation, a socially established, authorized relation to her husband. She is not to hide this relation from anyone. But when we are talking about love for God, it requires some more dimension. It is not enough. The love has to be intensely deep, and that is possible when there is an amount of confidentiality. It's not being talked about a confidential human relation. This divine relation has to be made confidential, like it is a simile, like an unchaste woman has for her paramour, for her lover. She cannot explain this, cannot disclose it to anyone. So, the thought of God, remembrance of God should be maintained all the while without the knowledge of others, while discharging the normal duties of our household, of our life. So that gives an extra depth of our love which is required in this Madhura Bhava. So this is the first point. Second point to understand in Madhura Bhava is this, that the underlying principle is said that God has created this universe and He is to be considered the only male person, and His creation is His female counterpart. So all the created beings, all the human beings, male or female, are His counterpart and are His wife, divine wife, irrespective of their sex. So here, the idea of sex does not arise at all, because this is not a human relation. This is to be understood. So, and the ideal of this Madhura Bhava is Radhika for the love for the Krishna. And this particular attitude includes all other bhavas. It has a tinge of servitude, like a servant to the master. It has attitude of friendship, like Sakhya Bhav. It has also an attitude of Vatsalya, the desire to take care of the beloved as a child, as a dependent person, and also as a wife. Now, Sri Krishna, as we said, the Supreme Self, the embodiment of existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute, is the only Purusha, the male principle. And all the jivas and creatures, both gross and subtle, are parts of Prakriti, the embodiment of supreme love. and are therefore his wives. So one husband and many wives. This is the attitude. This is not to be understood in a physical relation. So if jivas become pure and holy and wholeheartedly worship him as their husband, they attain him by his grace and get them liberated and enjoy unlimited bliss. This is the goal of life. This is the way of the Madhura Bhava Bhakti. This is the long and short of Madhura Bhava. Consider the Supreme Self as the husband and love him as dearly as possible. Now, all other devotional moods are included in this great mood, Mahabhava, of which the chief Gopik Radhika was the supreme epitome. Now, obviously, it is very difficult to understand, much less to implement. Though Chaitanya, he demonstrated this Madhura Lava and he advocated that this particular bhava should be practiced by one and all. Now, Sri Ramakrishna, it is our great fortune that though Chaitanya Dev has been recorded as a promulgator of Madhura Bhava, but not much is known about his personal life in relation to this bhava. Whereas in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we have a recorded description that how Sri Ramakrishna practiced this Madhura Bhava and what he said about his realization and about his sadhana. Now, the devotional scriptures, it has been said that the Madhura Bhava emanates from a Ragatmika Bhakti. Bhakti is of two kinds. One is Vaidhi Bhakti, another is Raga Bhakti. One is ritualistic worship, another is pure, one is ritualistic love, another is pure love. Now, this Ragatmika Bhakti is of two kinds. One is Sambandha Atmika, another is Kamatmika. One is having a relationship, another is having this, our relation, this having the loving relation with some passion. Now, each of these relations, Sambandhatmika has 4 divisions: Vatsalya, Sakhya, Dasya and Shanta, which we have discussed. And there is another variety which is Madhura Bhava. Each of these relations have again 5 offshoots, 5 subdivisions, which are Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag. Sneha is affection, Man is when a person becomes piqued at heart, and then Pranaya, feeling of sympathy, fellow feeling, Rag, love, and Anurag, pure love, where there is a forgetfulness. Each of these bhavas have 5 varieties except Shanta. In Shanta bhav, there is no division. It is unilateral and it is having equanimity, like a wave, like a sea without any wave. And in Dasya bhava, there is no Anurag. There is up to Raga. So here, altogether, there are 19 bhavas. Now, Sri Ramakrishna said that A spiritual aspirant requires a whole lifetime's spiritual practice to become perfect in any one of these 19 bhavas. But Sri Ramakrishna practiced all these 19 bhavas and became perfect in every one of them in an unbelievable short time and tasted the joy and which was culminated into Madhura Bhava. Now, each of these emotions were mastered by Sri Ramakrishna. Now, the reason why Chaitanya induced man, the sterner sex, to practice the Madhura Bhava. It is very unnatural for a male person to practice the Madhura Bhava and feeling as a wife of Sri Krishna. Although for a woman it is easy and natural to attribute husbandship to the Divine Lord and undergo the discipline accordingly, it appears to be unnatural for those who have male bodies. The question, therefore, naturally arises in one's mind, why Chaitanya introduced such an unbecoming discipline in the world? And he was, we believe, an incarnation of God. It has to be said in reply that all the actions of the incarnations of an age are done for the period, for the good of the humanity suited to that age. That path of sadhana was introduced by Chaitanya for the same purpose. He made the aspirants advance on the path of Madhura Bhava, keeping in mind the spiritual ideal which are then the aspirants were for a long time eager to realize. It cannot be a fact that the eternally perfect Chaitanya, an incarnation of God, engaged himself in practicing that mood for his own good and established it as a perfect ideal in society. Sri Ramakrishna made a remark about Sri Chaitanya as follows. An elephant has two teeth. One is external, another is external. Two tusks outside and two teeth inside. The external tusks, therefore, attacking the animals. An internal task is for masticating the food. So Chaitanya similarly had two kinds of moods. They were manifested in Chaitanya, Antarbhav and Bairbhav. The one is inward and another is outward. He did good to humanity with the help of the outward mood of Madhura Bhava. He encouraged Madhura Bhava and did good to humanity for the external world. And being himself established in the Brahman himself as the ultimate development of the love for God, he enjoyed personally the immense bliss in the inward mood of non-duality. He was Advaitin inside and Dvaitin outside. This is Chaitanya's characteristic as said by Sri Ramakrishna. We might either recall that Sri Ramakrishna said about himself and Swami Vivekananda accordingly. He said that Narendranath and himself are complementary to each other. He said Narendra is a Jnani outside and Bhakta inside. He is Advaitin outside and a devotee inside. Like Chaitanya, two types. Whereas Sri Ramakrishna was a Bhakta in the external field and Jnani internal. It is the reverse, as was done in Chaitanya's life. So that's how they were complementary to each other. Now, how did Chaitanya do good to the humanity with the help of the Madhur Bhava? That will gradually make us understand what is this Madhur Bhava. He proved beyond doubt that all the mental and physical changes called the 8 Sattvika Vikaras, there is 8 forms of Swatika Vikaras, deformities in the body who practice these devotional moods. They are Ashru, Kampa, Pulak, Ityadi. There a devotee sheds tears, there is a trembling in the body, there is horripilation, and then there is extreme joy, and then they get fainted, murchita. There are 8 types of vikaras happen in the physical changes in the body of the devotees, as was noticed in Sri Radhika. And these were noticed in the life of Sri Chaitanya himself and other Vaishnava saints and seers. This is normally perceived. So these Ashtasattvika vikaras are possible when a person practices Madhur Bhava. This is achieved by dint of intense meditation and contemplation on the Divine Husband Sri Krishna. Now, so this gradually in the Chaitanya, post-Chaitanya stage, they gradually influenced the literature and the literature and the books, and that is reflected in the Vaishnava Shastras as well. But a Vedantin has an easier avenue to accept this Madhura Bhava. Now, although in the eyes of the modern youths, the Madhura Bhava appears to be unnatural and unbecoming, then it does not take long for a Vedantin to ascertain its proper value. Now, an aspirant's effort to veil and gradually destroy all the other moods of his mind by virtue of prevalence of the Madhur Bhava assumed by him towards God is looked upon the Vedantin as similar to the effort of removing the thorn in one's foot with another. The Vedantin wants to achieve this stage by negation, whereas a devotee wants to achieve this mood by assertion. The consciousness of I am possessed of a body. This Vedantin wants to transcend the body consciousness, Dehatita Bhav, by constant contemplation, by constant discrimination. I am not this body, I am not this body. So, then naturally, when it transcends this consciousness of a body consciousness, then the matter of sex does not arise at all. The Vedantin thinks I am an Atman. Atman doesn't have a sex. So Vedantin wants to get rid of the body consciousness and then get out of this body, the sense of sex. So he is trying to do it with discrimination. Whereas a Madhura Bhava person, he is doing it as a part of devotion. Now when the male aspirant is able to forget his male natures by attributing the nature of the husband to the Divine Lord and of the wife to himself, it is needless to say, can very easily throw off as well the mood, I am his wife, and reach the state beyond all moods. Therefore, a Vedantin finds it quite reasonable that an aspirant, when perfect in the discipline of Madhura Bhava, should arrive very near the plane transcending all moods. So this actually happened in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, that while he practiced this Madhura Bhava, then actually he turned into as if he was a female person. he could not be recognized by his near and dear ones that who Sri Ramakrishna was when he was in the accompaniment of ladies. Now, the Sri Ramakrishna's Madhura Bhava sadhana is a great lesson for all of us. Now, the natural inclination of the master's mind since childhood was to merge in spiritual moods. So, if we study the life of Sri Ramakrishna, as has been depicted in Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga, or Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, or Sri Ramakrishna and his divine love, the divine life, then we get a clear conception of Madhura Bhava. Now, while he was merging in any particular spiritual mood, as the result of his listening to devotional music or for some other, we found, felt in his mind extreme pain if anyone sang or talked of any other mood. So, when he was following any particular mood, he was very strict to maintain the purity of that particular mood. Patanjali has called that state of the mind as Savikalpa Samadhi, in which there is only one particular current of modifications around one object, ekakar vritti. Now, once inducted into one mood, it always dwelt in it till it experienced its ultimate limit. That was the way Sri Ramakrishna practiced different disciplines. When he was practicing a particular discipline, he followed that discipline in totality, not a combination, one after other, and getting at last a glimpse of the non-dual's consciousness beyond. So he followed various paths. While following a particular path, he followed that particular path, singular path, and reached the end. And when he reached the end, then he saw that all the paths lead to the singular end. So he was very careful and very much insisting on the devotees that while you follow one path, do not get mixed with other ways. There are various ways to reach the roof. You can go by stairs, you can go by a bamboo, you can go by a rope. But while climbing, follow one mark, one route. For some time you follow the stairs, for some time you follow the alternative route, then you'll not be able to reach the goal. Follow one particular path, continue, and then when you reach the goal, you will find that all the methods will lead you to the same end. It is interesting to note that this Madhura Bhava was not to the master's liking before the time of his sadhana of that mood. He didn't want to do practice Madhura Bhava by calculation or any planning. When Bhairavi Brahmani came, the master's mind was filled with the contemplation of the motherhood of God. He was a child of the Divine Mother. He didn't want to practice Vaishnava sadhana. He was a Matri Sadhak. He was practicing the love for the Divine Mother as a child. At that time, he saw the actual manifestation of the Divine Mother in all creatures. He saw everyone as his manifestation of his mother. He perfected in that method. Now, Bhairavi Brahmani happened at that time to sing songs conveying the idea of the conjugal relationship with God. When the master said, we were told by Hridaya that he did not like that mood and requested her to stop them and sing instead the songs expressed of the motherhood of God. Now, Bhairavi Brahmani was singing the song of love of the lover to Sri Krishna. Master did not like. He said, stop all these, only sing Matri Sangeet. Now, these events, of course, occurred long before he became engaged. It is a very interesting saga that how this person, Sri Ramakrishna, became not only interested in this Madhura Bhava, but he attained perfection in it. And no sadhana of the master was unscriptural. Now, although the master Sri Ramakrishna was almost wholly and illiterate, as that word is ordinarily understood. A study of his life reveals how he maintained the authority of the scriptures all his life. It is a divine connection. Swami Vivekananda pointed this out and said, the reason of the masters incarnating the time as an unlettered person is to prove the states of experiences recorded in the Shastras to be true. If he studied the scriptures and if he narrated his experiences, people might have said that he is quoting the scriptures. But without studying the scriptures, when he narrated his experiences, which were exactly what was recorded in the scriptures, so he has authenticated the scriptures by not going through the scriptures but repeating the experiences through his own realization. So his one purpose of his advent was to prove that our scriptures are true. Because today's scientific mind has always a question, doubt, that why all these unnatural experiences are being recorded? It's all bogus. But his life proves that it is realizable. Anybody can attain this truth. That is the proof of the scientific discoveries. Now, the examples of the natural bent of the master's mind to follow the scriptures even unknowingly. The seers have said through the Upanishads that one cannot attain perfection by tapas only without putting an external emblem. That external emblem, the mark, are necessary. So, this is as a conducive practice for the particular method. We must have a dress and external marks for practicing a particular. The Vaishnavas have certain marks, certain kind of dress, certain color. The Shaktas have a certain color. Those who follow the discipline of Shakti, those who follow the discipline of Vedanta, they wear Gerua color. Different dress are prescribed for conducive for the particular sadhana. And Sri Ramakrishna put on the dress on other external emblems favorably to the practice of whatever spiritual mood he undertook at any time. He did it exactly the same way. For instance, he wore the red cloth, ashes, vermilion and Rudraksha beads in order to attain the success in practicing the filial mood towards God, the mother. Then Matri Sadhak, Matri Upasana, he followed the tantric disciplines described in the Tantras. At that time of his practice, according to the devotional moods spoken to in the Vaishnava books, he donned the well-known traditional veik and adorned his body with white cloth, white sandal paste, garlands of beads made of the holy basil, etc. The Tulasi mala, and then instead of Rudraksha, Tulasi beads, etc. He changed his attire and dress according to the discipline he followed. Now, desiring to realize the non-dual mood taught by the Vedanta, he put an occult dress. When he wanted to do Vedanta sadhana, he put on Gerua cloth and gave up his sacred thread and the tuft of hair on the crown of his head and so on. Then, while practicing the Sikha Sutra, he was a Brahmin. He had a sacred thread, Upavita, and Shikha, tuft of hair on the top of his head. He threw it all away as per the necessity. In Vedanta sadhana, one has to give up the Sikha Sutra and wear ochre cloth, and he did the same and attained perfection. Now, while practicing Madhura Bhava, female forms of dress and ornaments, while practicing the female moods, the Master taught us many a time that one could not realize God till one gave up the 8 ties of this Ashtapasha, that shame, hatred, fear and the egoism due to birth, family, good conduct, etc. Kula, Shil, Jati, Man, Abhiman, etc. The 8 forms of the bondages. Unless one gives up all these moods, one cannot become perfect. So Sri Ramakrishna practiced this and gave up all these bondages to become perfect in every form of practice. So it is interesting that while practicing the Mudra Bhava, the master became very anxious to use clothes and ornaments proper to a woman. Whenever path he followed with total sincerity. It was necessary in Mudra Bhava, when one has to admit that Sri Krishna is the husband, one has to appear as a female person. So he took up the female dress, sari, and the female ornaments just to appear as a woman in order to get perfection in this particular mood. Now he requested his guardian Mathur Babu, his financier, to procure all these things for him. And Mathur had the pleasure of adorning him now with the precious sari, now with a skirt, a gauze scarf and bodies, desirous of making his female mood of dress perfect in all respect. Mathur decked him with a head of artificial hair and a set of gold ornaments. He dressed himself as just like a woman, Sri Ramakrishna. Now, he wore a woman's dress for 6 months in the faith that he was the spiritual consort of God. The Mudra Bhava was practiced for 6 months, and all the actions of the master became womanly when he was in that attire. His mind, he used to think that he was a woman. His movements, his speech, his smile, his glance, his gestures, and all other actions of the body and mind would become completely womanly. Those we can mark that the attire and movement and attitude of a woman and a man are different. Now, this has been described very interestingly when the husband of any of Mathur's daughters came to the Jan Bazar house at that time. The master, we have heard it from himself, adorned her with attire and ornaments, dressed her hair, took her by her hand like a woman friend, teaching her various ways of entertaining her husband and making her sit beside her husband, returned from the room. He said, conscious that I was a woman friend of theirs, they also did not feel any hesitation or uneasy that because the Mathur's daughters were very close with master, so he was teaching Mathur's daughters that how to dress properly and so that they look attractive. Now when he remained thus surrounded by ladies, his own nephew Hridayaram said, it was difficult even for his very close relatives to recognize him quickly. They could not find out because he was completely in disguise of a woman. One day at that time, Mathur Babu took me to the inner apartment and asked, can you say which of these is your uncle? Can you identify? In Mathur's inner quarters, when there were ladies and Sri Ramakrishna was within them, just as a woman. Mathur could not recognize. He was his constant companion. Although I have lived, he said, although I had lived with him for so long a time and had served him daily, I could not at once distinguish him from them. When during that period of his life at Dakshineshwar, uncle used to pluck and collect flowers in the garden early in the morning every day with a flower basket in his hand. We carefully observed him and noticed that every time he started walking his left leg moved first. This is the one identification. The ladies, when they walk, the left leg comes first. When the gents they walk, their right leg comes in the beginning. Master changed his walk, gait, feeling like a complete woman. And he started walking, his left leg moved forward like that of a woman. The Vairavi Brahmani used to say, I mistook him very often for Sri Radharani when I saw him plucking flowers in that manner. Having plucked flowers and made variegated garlands of them, he then used to adorn Radha Govinda during this mood. He would not go to Kali temple, he would go to the Radha Govinda every day, and having sometimes adorned the Mother of the universe also, that way he prayed imploringly to her, and then when he go to Mother's temple, he play. He go to the gopis of Braja to Katyani to let him have Krishna for his beloved. So this further, when he practiced, the masters changed. There were some physical changes occurred in his physical body, and this what the devotional scriptures say about Srimati's transcendental love and the love experienced by Sri Ramakrishna would be discussed in our further interaction. This is a very interesting and knowledgeable episode which has been recorded in the life of Sri Ramakrishna in details, which is worth recounting to get a clear conception that what Madhura Baba actually is and how this attitude makes us pure, perfect, and take us to God in a very easy and natural way. What we thought as unnatural becomes natural and an easy way, which was promulgated by Lord Chaitanya. We close now with the chanting of the Lord. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Please join with me. Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Krishna Hari Om Ram Krishna Hari Om Ram Krishna Hari Om Hari Om Ram Krishna Hari Om Ram Krishna Hari Om Ram Krishna Hari Om. Namaskar.